Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, and how are you doing? Happy Friday to you all. Just having a few technical issues here actually, so I'm a little bit late starting today. I hope you are all doing well. How are you doing on this slightly gloomy Friday afternoon here in London at least? Wonder how's it doing where you are. We've got a few people joining now, so welcome to you. How are you doing this week? How's your family? How's your business? How's your team? Really good to see you all. And yeah, how are we feeling about the summertime? And how are the lockdowns treating you in various different parts of the world? I can see we've got people joining from different parts of the world. So what about your summer holiday plans? Do you have any plans? Are you going to go away? Are you going to stay in this country or wherever you are? Yeah, what are your plans? It's been a bit of a strange week, a strange year, I should say, and a strange week maybe. Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange year, hasn't it? We had that glorious sun earlier on this year, and now we're a lot of people have been homeschooling their children, and so that natural rhythm that we have in the year just hasn't been there. So I know a lot of people that are even confused about what month it is, or what's kind of going on. So yeah, I wondered what are your plans. Can see quite a few of you joining. Really good to see you. Summer holidays at this end we're still mulling. I shared with you last week that we are desperate to go diving, so we're looking at different options and seeing what's kind of allowed and what's not, and what we can do and how it's all going to work. So I wonder what your plans are and how you are doing. So what have you been working on this week? Has it been a good week? I've been working with some really interesting new clients actually this week, looking at how to take their businesses online and how to help them reach more of their clients, and doing some planning and structuring with some other clients. So yeah, it's been a really good week. I hope you've also had a good week. This week, in today's live, we're talking about a very interesting topic. We're talking about how to deal with drama and emotion, something that I find very interesting and have had quite an interesting journey with myself through the years. So be really interested to share this with you today and get your thoughts and reflections on this. So whether it's drama at work or at home, or whether it's between colleagues or maybe with a member of your team, I think that knowing how to spot those tricky conversations kind of before they escalate, and how to deal with all of that emotion, whether that's your emotion or other people's emotions, I think it's a really key skill, not just for business owners, but for any managers, to be honest. It's really important that we can kind of spot it before it goes too far and know how to deal with it. And I think that this is especially true at the moment when many of us are having to juggle home life and work life. Maybe some of you are, as I say, educating your children, or maybe you're looking after loved ones and managing people remotely. And also dealing with challenging market conditions in most of our businesses, and lots of anxiety around as well. I think it's really important to remember that there is a wide spectrum of feelings and emotions out there. So you do range from people like me who are not particularly I'm not anxious about getting it myself particularly, but I really desperately don't want to give it to anybody else, particularly anybody that I care about. And so I've chosen not to visit either of my parents, as an example, just because I live in London and I don't want to feel like I'm taking the virus out into the countryside where they both are, and I don't want to feel like I might be responsible for giving it to them, but I miss them terribly and I miss the rest of my family. So we all have to make choices, and so there are people like me that are not particularly anxious ourselves, but are making sure that we're not going to give it to anybody else. And then I know that there are many people out there that are terribly anxious about getting the virus themselves, about their families, about their loved ones. Maybe they have loved ones who are ill, maybe even in hospital. So I'm very conscious that there's a lot of anxiety out there, and I speak to lots of people every day, and I'm very conscious that there is that wide spectrum out there, and I think it's just important to remember that. And so in the context of drama and emotions, which obviously can come up from such a different variety of sources, I'd like to share a couple of things with you. I'd like to share a model that explains kind of how drama starts, how it escalates, and what makes it stop. And then I'm also going to share with you 10 strategies for dealing with emotion in a workplace context, but also useful in other ways as well. So firstly, the model that I want to share with you. This is really, really, really useful in terms of recognising and dealing with conflict. You may have heard about it before, but I'm hopefully that even if you have, that I'll share some different perspectives on it. It's called the drama triangle, and it was created by a Dr. Karpman. And I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the model today, but if this resonates with you, then I definitely encourage you to read up more about it or get in touch with me if you want to discuss. I first came across this model several years ago when I was going through my coaching training, and it was like a huge ga-ding, like a complete kind of bolt from the blue. And it, you know, when you just have one of those light bulb moments, and I kind of remember sitting there in the chair, and the woman that was sat next to me was kind of like, "Are you okay, Lisa? You look like you're having a moment." And it was like a lot of different things that I had been struggling with, and a lot of challenges that I had been dealing with just kind of really came into clarity in that moment and just really clicked into place for me. So I hope that it does the same for you, what I'm going to share with you today. So what the drama triangle is, in essence, is it's a very simple model, and it describes the roles that we all play in different conflict situations. Whether that conflict or drama situation is at work or at home, and basically in any kind of relationship with any other person or people. And there are 3 roles that we play, and the interesting thing is that these roles aren't fixed, so we can shift roles, especially if people join what Dr. Karpman calls the game. And so one of these is where you will kind of naturally start. That will be your sort of default position, and we all have one of those. But you are likely to shift as the game progresses, and that's what makes this model so interesting and so powerful. And your role might also shift depending on the relationship that you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with a home situation, a work situation, whether you're dealing with maybe one of your parents, one of your children, one of your siblings, your significant other. You might choose to play a different role. When I say choose, a lot of this is unconscious, and so I'm hoping to help you make it conscious today. But you will choose a role, a kind of a default role for any kind of relationship that you have. So the 3 roles that I'm going to talk about today are the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. So I'm going to go through each of those. So the persecutor is also known as the bully. And generally speaking, this role is coming from a place of anger. And so when we're angry, we make ourselves feel better by blaming and criticising everybody else for all the problems in the world. And we see a lot of that going on at the moment, right? And we have done over the last few months. So we feel, when we're in this role, we feel a sense of entitlement, and we use shame to get other people to forgive us during arguments. This is why it's also called the bully, because we persecute and then we use shame to kind of coerce the other person into forgiving us. When we're in this role, we're very inflexible and we're very authoritarian. So it's very much my way or the highway. And we quote rules and regulations, and we try to dominate other people and put them down. And our focus is very much on one-upmanship when we're in this role. And it's all about winning. And it's actually all to cover up a deep-seated fear of actually becoming the victim ourselves. So the victim is helpless and is driven by sadness, a strong sense of sadness. When we feel hopeless, when we feel trapped, or when we feel powerless, we often feel kind of overcome and overwhelmed by guilt and by shame. And so we look to others to solve our problems, and also to give us that sense of validation. And what gives us that sense of validation is we just refuse to make any decisions, we refuse to solve any problems, and also often we refuse to seek professional help. And so we become very dependent on other people, and that's the risk in this role, and we become very stuck. We don't take any ownership, we don't take any responsibility, and nothing is ever our fault when we're in this victim mode. And we tell huge long stories about our pain and all the wrongdoings that we've experienced and that we're suffering. And you know that person that just goes on and on about how woe is me, how terrible is everything. And all that negativity, if you like, is spun into a huge disaster, and any feedback we get, it's all such a huge drama, and it's very much about poor me. So the rescuer, who is also known as the martyr or the fixer, they gain self-esteem from helping other people, and that is really what drives them. So when we're playing this role, we're actually driven by fear. So there's a deep-seated fear here, fear of failure, fear of not being loved or appreciated, and we crave control in order to feel safe. And so what we do is we take on too much responsibility, and we agree to take on everybody else's stuff, and we shoulder a lot of burdens and other people's burdens. And we feel a kind of almost compulsive need to fix everybody else's problems and try to keep everybody else happy. And so we try to be considerate and we try to be selfless, but the risk here is that we feel resentful if anybody complains or fails to appreciate us. I'm wondering if any of this is landing with you. I'm seeing a few little kind of emojis and a few comments coming up. So what happens is we can move endlessly around that triangle during a conflict. So what happens is we first shout out our opinion, and then we feel got at when we're challenged, and then we might even go into rescuer mode where we rescue our former adversaries when they start feeling vulnerable. And this is what happens is when we go round and round. And so what's interesting about this is each role needs the other to meet its needs. So the persecutor very definitely needs a victim in order to bully them, and a rescuer to fight against. So the persecutor needs somebody to fight against and somebody to bully. The victim definitely needs the persecutor to keep them feeling powerless, and they need a rescuer to kind of reinforce that helplessness. And the rescuer, and this was the thing that went ga-ding to me, the rescuer actually needs the persecutor to protect the victim from, and they need the victim to make them feel useful and helpful. And so if you just think about that, these three roles need each other. So you can't play the game by yourself, this game of drama and this game of conflict. And the game actually needs drama in order to survive. And so each person will actually try and encourage other people to join the game. And this is how it becomes a bit of a cycle, and it almost becomes a bit addictive in working situations and in home situations, to be honest. But I'm going to focus on work today, if you don't mind. So here's how it works. Typically, can you believe what my boss said to me today at work? I'm inviting you in. Can you believe what this person said? And then we go, oh, I know. And it can often kind of start off kind of a bit gossipy, and then somebody will come in and they'll maybe disagree, and then they become the antagonist. And that's how the drama starts. And it goes round and round. It's a rotating pattern of codependent behaviours, and they ultimately serve no one. This drama triangle ultimately serves no one. Each player gets their unspoken and often completely unconscious needs met in a very, very selfish way. And we all feel justified when we're in this triangle, and we don't want to acknowledge what damage is actually being done to ourselves and to everybody else. And the game quite simply will continue. You'll continue going round and round this drama triangle until somebody chooses to exit. And even though conflict, of course, is inevitable between human beings, getting stuck in that triangle really isn't inevitable. And this is what I want to share with you about how you get out of this triangle, because this triangle is as old as humanity, and we see it in so many different situations. And it's important as business owners, particularly for us to know how to recognise it and know how to step out of it, whether that's at home or at work. So the triangle actually normally starts, and what it has in common, all these different situations have in common, is it's people getting too involved in other people's stuff, in what other people are doing. It's poking your nose into other people's business. That's where drama and conflict always starts. And so actually the way that you step out of the triangle is you have to take responsibility for your stuff, for your shit, yeah? For your actions, for your feelings, for your words, and for your needs. That is the way that you step out. So Cartman tells us that the way to exit the triangle then is to become aware of the game, of course, aware of what's going on, and also aware of the role that we're playing. So are you in victim mode? Are you doing that, oh, poor me, it's such a catastrophe, everything keeps happening to me? Are you actually persecuting? Are you actually bullying the other person to try and get your own way, to try and get some control? Or are you actually in rescuer mode? Are you actually trying to protect somebody from somebody else, and you're feeling really good about yourself because you're protecting, but are you actually encouraging that person to stay in victim mode just to make yourself feel better? And so the way that we exit is we recognise the triangle is going on, we recognise the role that we're playing in it, and then we simply step out and ask for what we need. So instead of doing all this stuff like, oh, I just expect the other person to know, or, oh, you know, it should just be obvious, or, you know, instead of bullying or going, poor me, I never get my own way, the way to step out and get out of the drama is simply to ask for what we need, calmly and rationally. Now, as this game requires multiple players, you do need to be aware that people will get upset when you choose to exit. So you know those situations where actually you go, do you know what? I'm not going to play anymore. If you want to do that, then that's fine, and people get very upset and very confronted. And you need to be careful that then you don't get dragged back into another drama situation when you're actually trying to get yourself out. Yeah, you can't rescue other people. You can't make things better for them if they don't want to help themselves. And so sometimes you just have to exit, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But as a business owner and a business leader, you really need to learn how to recognize what's going on in yourself, in your team, and in your business, so that you can take a step back before you try and resolve the situation. Because I see this so often where people are trying to resolve a conflict situation, a drama situation, maybe between colleagues or members of their team, but they are playing the game, and you cannot resolve anything whilst you're playing the game. Really important. So once we step out of the triangle and we recognise what's going on, then only then can we actually shift into a different dynamic, a kind of a win-win, if you like. And that's what I'd like to share with you. So in actual fact, although I've made those three roles sound very negative, I've explained them to you in their sort of negative connotation, but each role can be replaced with a much healthier way of dealing with conflict. And it definitely, each of those requires a particular skill that can be developed. So, for example, if your natural role is a persecutor, if you're naturally quite an angry kind of bullying type, if you tend towards bullying, and you need to be quite self-aware to recognise that in yourself, but if you do tend to give other people a hard time, and you know, lots of finger wagging and all of this kind of stuff, the way you want to try and transition to is to become more of a challenger by learning the skill of assertiveness. Now, that might seem a little bit weird, and when I first learned about this, I was like, that's really weird, because the persecutor is already pretty pushy and pretty in your face anyway. But aggression, or being passive aggressive, is actually very, very different from being assertive. Being assertive actually means expressing our needs in a direct but a diplomatic way. So you want to try and shift your style from being very authoritative to being much more empathetic. So empathy doesn't mean being soft. It just means having that emotional intelligence to understand the other person's viewpoint so that you can communicate more effectively. So ways of doing this, and so how do you do that? If you start by replacing those kind of accusatory, judgmental kind of statements like, why are you so forgetful? If you try and replace that with I statements, so when I didn't hear from you, I felt worried. Yeah, much better than, why didn't you call me? Why are you so forgetful? Why? Which is very bullying. You turn it around and you own it. When I didn't hear from you, I got really worried. This is how it makes me feel when you do that. I'm just sharing that with you. I'm owning my own needs and my own stuff rather than trying to get into a conflict situation with you. I am asserting my needs, my emotions, and who I am. And I'm asking for what I need. If you have a tendency towards victim mode, oh, poor me, everything's so terrible, catastrophe, everything's happening to me, I have no power, poor me, basically. If you tend towards that kind of thinking or behaviour when you're stressed or under pressure, what you need to work on is that underlying belief, any underlying beliefs that you might have around inadequacy, around belief in yourself. It's basically around confidence, and what you need to try and do is then shore up that self-belief, and the way you do that is by taking responsibility for your own thoughts, your own feelings and your behaviours. The world is not happening to you. There are things that you can control, and that is very much what we need to do when we're in victim mode, is we need to take responsibility for the things that we can control. And the way that we do this is by problem solving, because when we're in victim mode, we kind of shut down and we refuse to solve anything. But we're all capable of solving problems. And if you tend towards victim mode, if you can encourage yourself to solve problems, that will build your confidence. And you do this by specifically learning and encouraging yourself to take calculated risks and seeing failure as feedback, not as a negative thing and not as a character flaw. Failure is the way that we learn. Failure is feedback. Failure gives us an opportunity to do things better. It's not a character flaw. Nothing ever happens without failure. And so you need to be practicing voicing your concerns. When you need support, you need to be asking for it instead of just kind of giving up, retreating, and asking somebody, just kind of giving up and deferring all responsibility. That is how we get out of victim mode, and that is how we change that more into a positive mode. And clearly having self-compassion is absolutely key. When we are in victim mode, we're actually being really, really mean to ourselves. And so having self-compassion is really, really key if you tend towards victim mode. And then the third role is the rescuer. And the rescuer is looking to transition into being more of a coaching, mentoring role. And the way that we can do that, if we tend towards a rescuer mode, the way that we can become the coach is by learning to get comfortable letting go of control, or that illusion that we tell ourselves that we're in control. It means developing the ability to listen without having to fix things. And this was the light bulb moment that I had when I first heard about this model. So when drama starts, and it inevitably does, when it sort of starts to flare up, our role, if we tend towards rescue, is rather than go into Mrs. Fix-It mode, is asking questions first before sort of jumping in with that offer of advice or a solution. It's important to delegate more. You need to trust other people. As I say, learn to let go, learn to trust other people, learn to let go of that illusion of control that those of us that tend towards rescuer mode can often struggle with. It's important to get better at tactfully saying no. People really won't hate you for it, I absolutely promise. It's very important, if you tend towards rescuer mode, to pay attention to those activities and those situations that drain your energy, and also those that invigorate you. Just pay attention to what's going on there with your energy level. So which role do you think you naturally play in those conflict situations? Maybe you have a different one at home or at work or in different relationships. I'm interested to know whether any of that I've shared with you has resonated with you. I can see a few comments coming up now. And also, how quickly can you or do you spot when this drama is happening? And now can you see or can you think about how you might step out of those situations? What I notice also with drama, which is quite interesting, is it tends to be very cyclical. So we tend to get into patterns. And what I often share with my clients is, if you run away from a situation, do you know what? Without learning what you need to learn, do you know what? You will just find a way of bringing that same situation, that same drama into your life. We all have to learn whatever we have to learn, and we're brilliant at making ourselves learn things or confront situations. And if you run away without learning what you need to learn, it'll just come back again. You'll find a way to bring it back into your life. So what patterns can you spot in your own life, in your own relationships, that might be informed by this drama triangle? So really interested to hear your comments about that. Do let me know. So now I'm going to move on to emotions, which is obviously a very linked topic, but I want to share with you some strategies around dealing with emotions. So of course we are all emotional creatures. As human beings, it's actually really hard for us not to be emotional. And so, of course, while it's generally good and healthy to be in touch with our emotions and obviously not to suppress them too much, there are, of course, situations where we have to somehow manage our emotions. And of course, one of those is very definitely the work situation. Emotional outbursts at work can obviously be due to work-related matters, or they might be stress that you're bringing in from home or from other situations. And handling our emotions, particularly negative emotions at work, is often, of course, seen by other people as a measure of our professionalism. It often impacts very much how other people see us and deal with us. And that's why, as a business owner, it's particularly even more important than it is for anybody else to be able to manage our emotions. Our teams, our customers, our stakeholders are very definitely looking to us to set that good example. Now, from a psychological standpoint, it's never a good thing actually to suppress or try, repressing or suppressing our emotions. Whether they're positive or negative, psychologically, that's not a great thing to be doing. But we do have to learn how to manage our emotions so that we can function in various different situations. And so I thought I would share with you today 10 strategies that you can use to cope with negative emotions and help other people in your team or that you work with or around you do the same. And as always, as I always say, we are all very different, and so some of these will resonate with you more than others, and some you will definitely find easier than others. And remember that when you're coaching other people, is some of these strategies might work brilliantly for you, and some really you will find a challenge. So the first one, in no particular order, my 10 strategies. Firstly, when we're dealing with emotions, the first strategy I wanted to mention with you is compartmentalization. Is that even a word? It is now. So compartmentalizing our emotions is a really good strategy that some people find really easy and some people find really hard. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is really trying to separate work life and personal life. Now, I know that's particularly challenging at the moment, but in our minds, we need to have a separation between these two. I'm going to just use these two worlds. Clearly, there might be many, many worlds that you are inhabiting, but let's talk about work and home. It's really important to try and compartmentalize those two. And what I mean by that is trying to leave personal matters and issues at home and work matters and issues at work. And really trying to have a transition between the two worlds. So if you were commuting or you are commuting, obviously that is a perfect time to just try and leave one world behind before you enter another. If you are working from home, you need to try and think about some strategies that you can use to help you compartmentalize. And one quite simple strategy that some people find easy and other people find really hard is to kind of mentally store or lock something into a box and kind of go, do you know what, I'm going to deal with that tomorrow, or I'm going to deal with that later. Again, some people find that easier than others, but just try and have maybe a work box or a home box in your mind and try and see if you can put something in there, and that will help you compartmentalize and focus so that it doesn't sort of bleed in, because that is what stresses, that's where a lot of stress and anxiety comes, is that kind of bleeding and you feel like you're never switching off. So that's the first strategy I would say for dealing with negative emotions. The second one is let's say more practical, and that is deep breathing and relaxation techniques. These definitely help with emotions, particularly like anxiety, worry, frustration. And if you tend towards anger, as I know some people do, it's important to take some deep breaths. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And if you just do that a few times, I find it helpful to close your eyes as well, so you're having quite an immersive experience. It changes the physiology of your body and it really helps you calm down, and it can help you calm really quickly. Another good exercise or practice is just to slowly count to 10. So just take a moment, take a deep breath, and a lot of the anxiety or frustration can just go away just by that very simple technique. Clearly, you can also, if you're in a situation where you can take a break, take a walk, change your environment, change your physiology. That can really help release the negative energy that's built up inside you. As I mentioned, if you're somebody that tends towards anger, you might also want to take a walk to cool yourself down as well. Maybe you want to listen to some relaxing music as well. That can also really help. Another strategy in this area is also talking to somebody else who might be able to help you calm down. You know, there are some people that are just quite calming. They're just really good to talk things through with. And sometimes when we're agitated or anxious or angry, it can just really help to talk things through. Sometimes we actually have to calm ourselves down even to be able to explain to somebody else what we're so frustrated about. So definitely deep breathing and relaxation techniques can be wonderful in terms of helping you let go of some of those negative emotions. So my third strategy is what I call the 10-second rule, and this is particularly helpful if you tend to be quite hot-tempered. So if you're feeling angry, frustrated, or even irate, if you feel that rise, some people actually physically go red, don't they? Some people, you can feel that getting that hot flush, and it's all, you feel like you're boiling. Try and count to 10. To recompose yourself. If possible, excuse yourself from the situation just to get a little bit of a distance. So even if you don't need to go to the loo, even if you don't need a drink, just excuse me for one moment, I just need to go and check on something, or I just need to pop to the loo. Just give yourself a moment before you engage with it. Yeah, obviously if you're going to do that, do obviously reassure the other person that you are going to come back, and you will come back and you will deal with it. But if you can feel yourself losing control, which is what we're talking about with these negative emotions, then definitely just give yourself a bit of a break. So that 10-second rule can be super helpful. Okay, number 4. I really like this one. Number 4 is clarify. So it is really good to clarify before you react in any kind of situation, because it could just simply be a misunderstanding or a miscommunication. I also find that it helps you buy a bit of time in which to calm down or help the other person calm down. So if you're feeling yourself really, really angry or, getting frustrated, ask a question like, I think you mean this, but can I just clarify? Could you just give me an example? What do you mean by that? Helps you calm down. But if you're facing somebody else coming at you with a lot of emotion and a lot of negativity, a cool, calm voice and a nice open question can really help. I find this to be a really effective strategy in certain types of emotional situations, is just ask a really cool, calm, slow, measured question can really help calm and kind of take the heat out of a situation, if you like. So talking about taking the heat out, so my number 5 is definitely about channeling. My number 5 strategy is definitely about channeling all of that negative emotion. And one of the most effective way of doing this, because there are many bad ways of channeling that, so you don't want to be, going down the props, the alcohol, food, all of that, which a lot of us use to deal with stress. What I mean when I say channeling that, what I mean is something like exercise. So instead of losing your cool, like get on the treadmill. Yeah, my husband uses that to great effect. If he is cross about something, get on the treadmill. Yeah, go out for a run, go to a kickboxing class, or something. If you've got a punch bag, something, get it out. Go for a brisk walk. Jump up and down. Do some jumping jacks. Listen to some music and dance around the house or outside. Get your blood pumping. Yeah, it gives you some good endorphins, of course, if you raise your pulse, but it also just shakes out, just like the deep breathing does. This is a bit more of an active way of doing it, but it's a similar principle. So the deep breathing changes your physiology, and so does the exercise. So definitely, I can definitely recommend exercise for shaking off any of those negative feelings that you might be feeling, whether it's at the anger side or the overwhelm side. Just get yourself moving. Brilliant way to deal with these emotions. And of course, I'm talking about it in the context of you, but all of these strategies can be used to coach other people that are struggling to deal with emotions that you might work with, or that you might want to help or to coach through some challenging times. So what I would say, my strategy number 6 is just have a rule, have a word with yourself, never reply or make a decision when you're angry. I mean, in these days of these instant communication, it's just so easy to shoot off, a pithy message or reply or email or text. And how many of those have you ever sent and regretted it afterwards? So just have a rule, have a principle that you just don't do that. It's just you're never coming from a great place if you're angry or you're frustrated, or just think it through. So just don't ever let your anger or your unhappiness or your negative emotions cloud your judgment. So definitely hold off all communication when you are angry, but also I would say actually in any kind of negative emotion situation, as much as you can, you've got to calm yourself down before you respond. So type it up first if it's an email, but then save it as a draft and sleep on it. So just stop reacting. What we want instead of reacting is we want to be responding. Yeah, so I'm responding, we need to come from a place of control. So reread it if it's an email, reread it the next day, or maybe even send it to somebody else to give you a bit of perspective, somebody that you trust, and just say, does this sound okay? before you send it. So that's a really, really, really important tip. What I would say then, strategy number 7 is knowing your triggers. Yeah, so I talk a lot in these lives about being self-aware, and that's super, super important. So what are your triggers? What you must know, we've all got those things, right, that make us feel upset or make us feel angry, and we just need to learn to recognize that. Like, okay, this is one of those moments, okay, I'm just going to take a moment. Yeah, then you can prepare yourself to remain calm, and also you can also think about, what am I going to do next time this happens? Yeah, because these triggers come back. I was talking about cycles a moment ago, so what am I going to do next time somebody says that kind of thing to me? Because I know it pisses me off, I know it makes me angry. What am I going to do next time? So you can kind of plan your response, and so when it happens, you can be ready with something that's not just that gut reaction that's coming from that negative place. And then also you might even be able to then anticipate the other person's reaction, and you might just be able to have a much more sensible dialogue or conversation. Strategy number 8, always be respectful. Treat other people how you want to be treated yourself. I think that's a great principle. If the other person is rude, there's absolutely no need to reciprocate. There just isn't. There's no need to react. You don't need to stoop to their level. If that, you don't know what's going on. We never know. As I said earlier on, there's so much anxiety, frustration going on. We don't know why the other person's being rude. We don't know why they're reacting how they're reacting, or why they're getting angry or stressed or cross or whatever. There's just no need to rise to it. You just inflame the situation. If we can stay gracious and just be firm and assertive without being aggressive, then often it takes the heat out of it, and often that person that's just been rude to you will just mellow down if you don't react. This is where it links into the drama triangle. Just don't engage with it. Just stay calm and cool and collected and in control. And what happens then, if somebody is going for it and you don't respond, often they will kind of calm down because they realise, oh, I'm the only person. And we don't like being, you can't play the drama triangle game by yourself, and people don't like being kind of the outlier. So often that helps calm the situation down. If you do have an emotional outburst, and look, it happens to the best of us, if you do say something that you wish you hadn't, or if you do get emotional in an inappropriate way, or if you do send something off that you later regret, of course you need to apologise, and also perhaps to the people around that might have been affected. You might have to apologise to the person, but maybe other people have heard what you've said or seen what you've done. I don't think you need to explain yourself, and you certainly don't want to get defensive. It's just, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I reacted really badly. Let's start over. That is a great. Can we just start this conversation again? Can I just respond again? Just catch yourself as soon as you can. It makes a big difference. There's no need to do I'm under a lot of pressure or this or that. It's fine. Just apologise and go, right, let me draw a line under that. I'm really sorry. I'm going to try that again. And people will really respect you for that. And then the 10th one, I guess, brings us full circle, which is, don't bring negative emotions home. If you're having a tough time at work, or if you're having a tough time at home, don't bring them home. Don't bring them into your environment. Don't bring the stresses and strains of the outside inside. Just don't. Leave them outside. Have an end of day process. I speak about this with a lot of my clients. Have an end of day process where you just wrap things up. Don't bring it home. I know business is tough. I know it's incredibly tough at the moment. But there's no need to let that bleed into our home lives. Harbouring those negative emotions, they kind of fester away and they sort of eat up, they kind of like mould and they eat up inside, and they really can then increasingly make you kind of overwhelmed and stressed, and it's good to try and let them go. It really is. Don't let them fester. if you can use the compartmentalization method that I mentioned earlier on, that you should be able, it would be good to be able to try and enjoy the bits of your life that are going well, even if one bit is really, really a challenge. So they are my 10 strategies for dealing with negative emotions. I'm interested to know how you would use those strategies. Do you use any of those strategies, or how could you use those strategies in your business to help you, but also your colleagues and your team deal with these very emotional and challenging times? Let's face it, you know, it's difficult times at the moment. So I think we all need some strategies to help us deal with that. So today I've shared with you the drama triangle and also my 10 strategies for dealing with emotions. I hope these have given you some good food for thought. I suggest that you use them next time you find yourself in a difficult or maybe an uncomfortable situation, and please do let me know how you get on. So next week on Wednesday, we have our July community event, and I do hope that you'll be able to join us for that. We'll be discussing actually quite a related and definitely relevant topic, and that is boundaries. So how to set boundaries and how to maintain them. Setting and managing boundaries is a really challenging aspect of growing a business at the best of times, but in these last few months, it's become really complicated, as we've explored a bit today, haven't we? How do you feel about being the boss? How do you balance your work and your home life? And how do you support your people remotely? These are some of the topics that we'll be talking about next week. So we'll be discussing these issues next Wednesday, and I'll offer you some practical thoughts and some practical ways to help. So do come along and meet your fellow business owners. We've already got quite a few people signed up, so I hope you all will be able to join us. Share your views, but also maybe get some new perspectives. They're always really nice, fun events, so I do hope you can join. You can register for your place using the Zoom link in the event that's been created in this group. If you struggle to find the link, then obviously just let me know. I'm going to close off today's live then with 2 quotes about drama and emotions. So the first one is from Anita Renfro. She's an American comedian. And what she has to say on this subject is, difficulty is inevitable, drama is a choice. I love that. I think that's brilliant. And the second one is from Cheryl Richardson, and she is an American coach. And what she has to say is, if you avoid conflict in order to keep the peace, you start a war inside yourself. I think that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. And that is about owning our truth, speaking our truth, and owning our needs and taking responsibility for our actions, for our feelings, and for our needs. So do let me know your thoughts and your questions on this or on any other topic relating to how to grow a business that really works for you. What area of business would you like me to speak about next week? Do let me know. I hope that you have a really lovely weekend, whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it with. I wish you a really happy and peaceful time. In my household, we're going to be really, really busy. We have got both of our birthdays and our wedding anniversary all in the next 10 days, plus a holiday to organise. So we're definitely going to be busy. I hope you have a really lovely weekend. As always, if you want to talk, you know where I am. And do take care, stay safe, and please keep in touch. Bye for now.